"You're being possessive about normal friends' behavior," she snapped, when I asked her to set boundaries with her just friends. She called me controlling and insecure. She never expected I'd catch them. So this is eating me alive, and I need some perspective. I've been with my girlfriend Nora for about 2 years now, and things have been solid until recently. Nora works in cybersecurity, she's brilliant at it, but it's definitely a boys' club. Her entire friend group from work and grad school is basically all guys, except for one other girl named Jessica. Honestly, I don't mind at all. I'm not the kind of guy who believes men and women can't be real friends. When we first started dating, I thought it was cool that she could hang with the guys and hold her own. Her friends seemed really welcoming too, always inviting me to their hangouts, asking about my work, including me in conversations. I genuinely like them all. But over the past few months, something shifted. Can't put my finger on it exactly. Nora has always been close with her friends, but lately it feels different, especially with this one guy Hart. They have these inside jokes that go way back, which I get, but lately they've started using what I can only describe as pet names for each other. She calls him H in this really soft way, and he calls her Sunshine or Norbear. When I mentioned it seemed a bit much for friends, she laughed it off and said I was being weird about normal friendship. Here's the thing though, slowly but surely, I don't feel welcome in the group anymore. Nothing blatant, nothing obvious has changed. They're still polite, still include me in plans, still act friendly, but there's this subtle shift. Like I'm watching their dynamic from the outside instead of being part of it. Conversations kind of die down when I join. Inside jokes could explain to me after the fact in this patronizing way. "Oh, you had to be there," followed by awkward silence. "Last weekend we were at Hart's place for game night." Nora and Hart kept exchanging these looks, having whispered conversations. At one point, she was sitting on the floor leaning against his legs while he was on the couch, and when I said something about it, not in a hostile way, just pointed it out, she got defensive. "You're being possessive about normal friend behavior," she said. Everyone else kind of went quiet, and I felt like the asshole. Was I being possessive? Maybe, but something felt off. I trust Nora completely, and I'm not trying to control who she's friends with. But shouldn't there be some boundaries when you're in a serious relationship? Like, I wouldn't be texting another girl at midnight, or using pet names, or being physically affectionate in ways that make my girlfriend uncomfortable. I have tried talking to her about this before, but whenever I try to bring this up, Nora immediately goes on the defensive, says I don't trust her, that I'm trying to control her friendships, that these people were her friends long before I came along. Makes me feel like I'm being crazy and insecure. But here's the thing, I've never been the jealous type. My ex had guy friends and it never bothered me. I have female friends and Nora's never had an issue with it. This feels different somehow. Jessica's been weird too. She used to be really chatty with me, but lately she seems guilty, like she knows something I don't. Always watching me when Nora and Hart are being touchy-feely, then looking away quickly when I catch her. I keep telling myself I'm probably just imagining it, but it's getting harder and harder not to read into it. Am I being controlling? Is this normal friend behavior that I'm reading too much into, or should I trust my gut here? What would you do in this situation? Edit, holy shit this blew up, reading all your comments now. Some of you are saying I'm being controlling, others are saying trust my gut. Mixed feelings about that. For those asking, yes, Hart is single. Has been the whole time I've known him. Also Jessica has been acting more distant lately, which is weird because we used to get along great. A lot of you are asking about specific examples. Here's one. Last month at a group dinner, Hart, jokingly, said Nora would make someone a perfect wife someday. She blushed and said maybe I already am someone's perfect wife while looking at him, not me. Everyone laughed it off, but it felt pointed. Update 1, posted 2 weeks ago. Thanks for all the advice on my last post, even those of you who told me I was being an insecure asshole. Maybe I needed to hear that too. So I sat Nora down last weekend and laid out exactly how I was feeling. Made it clear from the start that I wasn't trying to control her friendships or make her choose between me and her friends. Told her I understood that these were important relationships for her and that I respected that. But I also explained that some of their behaviors were crossing lines for me. The pet names, the physical touchiness, the late-night texting, the way I felt excluded from the group lately. Said I wasn't asking her to cut contact with anyone, but that I hoped we could establish some boundaries that would make me feel more secure in our relationship. Her reaction at first, she went full defense mode. "So what, you don't trust me now?" Her voice had that edge it gets when she's pissed. Arms crossed, leaning back on the couch like she was physically pulling away from me. "This isn't about trust, Nora, it's about boundaries." "Boundaries?" She actually laughed. "Christian, these are my friends. They've been my friends since grad school. I'm not going to change who I am just because you're feeling insecure." That stung, but I kept my voice calm. "I'm not asking you to change who you are. I'm asking for some basic respect for our relationship." Basic respect? Now she was standing up, pacing. "You mean like not having friends, not being comfortable with people who have been in my life longer than you have?" "That's not what I said." "It's what you're implying." She spun around to face me. "You're trying to control who I can be friends with. This is exactly how it starts, Yudo. First it's tone down the friendships, then it's maybe don't see them as much, then it's complete isolation." I felt my stomach drop. "Are you seriously comparing me to an abusive boyfriend right now?" "I'm saying that, if you can't handle me having male friends, maybe you're not ready for an adult relationship." The silence stretched between us. Part of me wanted to back down, apologize, tell her she was right, but something held me in place. "You're deflecting," I said finally. "I'm what?" "You're deflecting. I came to you with a concern about specific behaviors, and instead of addressing what I actually said, you're making this about trust and control and painting me as some jealous psycho." She opened her mouth to respond, but I kept going. "The pet names with heart, the physical affection, the way I feel excluded when we're all together. Those are the things I'm talking about, not your right to have friends." She went quiet. I could see something shift in her expression, like she was recalculating. She sat back down, suddenly looking smaller. I didn't realize you felt excluded." The change in tone was so sudden it threw me off. "What?" "I guess I've been so comfortable with them for so long that I didn't think about how it might look to you." She was looking down at her hands now, voice softer. "That's not fair to you." I blinked. "Okay. And you're right about the pet names. I can see how that would make you uncomfortable." She looked up at me, eyes a little watery. "I love you, Christian. I don't want you to feel like you're not important to me." The whiplash from her anger to this vulnerability left me feeling off balance. But we actually talked after that. She agreed to tone down the pet names and physical affection with heart, specifically. Said she'd make more an effort to include me in group conversations and activities. Even suggested that maybe we could do more couple friends things where it wasn't just me tagging along with her friend group. I felt so much better after that conversation, like we were finally on the same page. And you know what? For the past couple weeks, I've actually seen the changes. The group dynamic feels different. Better, honestly. Hart stopped with the sunshine bullshit, and Nora makes a real effort to include me in conversations. Last Friday, we all went to a brewery, and I actually felt like part of the group again instead of Nora's boyfriend who was just there. Jessica's been really nice to me lately, too. She's gone out of her way to include me in conversations and check in on how I'm feeling about everything. It's sweet, but the sudden shift also makes me wonder if she knows something I don't. But here's the strange thing, even though everything seems so much better on the surface, I still get these moments where I have this nagging feeling that something's not right. Hard to explain. Everything looks perfect, but my gut is still telling me something's off. Maybe it's just that once you've felt excluded and suspicious, it's hard to just flip that switch off. Like, am I having trouble letting go of the negative feelings from before? I keep telling myself I'm losing it, but what if I'm not? What if I'm the only one seeing clearly? How long do you take to get past feelings of suspicion once your partner makes the changes you asked for? Am I overthinking this? Edit, a lot of you are saying trust my instincts. That's both reassuring and terrifying. For those asking about Hart's behavior specifically, he's been perfectly polite and appropriate since our conversation. No more pet names, keeps physical distance from Nora, includes me in conversations. On paper, everything's fine. Someone DM'd me asking if I've talked to Jessica about this. I haven't, but now I'm wondering if I should. She seems like she wants to tell me something but keeps holding back. Just remembered something weird from last week. I walked into the kitchen while Nora was on the phone, and she quickly said, "I have to go," and hung up. When I asked who it was, she said it was work. But it was 10 p.m. on a Saturday. Who calls about work at 10 p.m. on a Saturday? Update 2, posted 1 week ago. My hands are still shaking as I write this. You guys who told me to trust my gut were absolutely right. I should have listened sooner. Yesterday, I stopped by Nora's apartment to grab my charger that I'd left there the night before. Texted her around 2 p.m. saying I was coming by, but she didn't respond. Figured she was probably busy with work or something. Her door was unlocked, which isn't unusual since she lives in a secure building. I walked in calling her name. No response. Could hear music playing from the bedroom, so I figured she was caught up in something on or was in the shower. As I walked toward the bedroom to grab my charger from the nightstand, I heard voices. That's when I stopped dead in my tracks. Through the cracked bedroom door, I could see Nora and Hart on the bed, not just talking, not just hanging out. Hart was shirtless, and Nora was in her bra, straddling him while they made out like teenagers. Nora's laugh drifted through the crack, intimate, private, the kind I thought was mine alone. Then I saw her hand trailing down his chest, and something inside me just broke. Hart's hands were all over her back, pulling her closer. The way Nora was moving against him, the soft sounds she was making, I'd never seen her like that. Not even with me. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, just watching, my girlfriend of 2 years, with her, just a friend. Feeling like my entire world was collapsing. Then I heard Hart say, "God, I've missed this. Only a few more weeks and we won't have to sneak around anymore." Nora laughed, this breathless, happy sound, and said, "Poor Christian actually thinks I'm trying to save our relationship. He's so easy to manipulate when he wants to believe something." That's when the rage hit, cold and sharp and crystal clear. I pushed the door open and said, "Well, this is enlightening." You should have seen them scramble. Nora literally fell off the bed, and Hart grabbed his shirt like it was going to somehow undo what I'd just witnessed. The look of pure panic on both their faces would have been hilarious if my heart wasn't being ripped out of my chest. "Christian," Nora stammered, scrambling for her shirt. "This isn't, we were just." "Just what?" I said, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. "Just sleeping with each other behind my back, just laughing about how easy I am to manipulate, just planning your future together while I'm playing the devoted boyfriend." Hart had the audacity to try to leave, stood up and said, "Man, I should go. This is between you two." "Sit the hell down," I told him. "You're part of this conversation now." Nora was crying now, tears streaming down her face. "Please, Christian, let me explain. This isn't what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks like you've been cheating on me with Hart, probably for months, while making me feel like I was being controlling and insecure for noticing that something was off." The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. "How long?" I asked. "Christian." "How long?" I shouted. Nora flinched. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Hart finally spoke up. His voice was quiet, almost guilty. "About 4 months." 4 months. 4 freaking months of lies, manipulation, and gaslighting. 4 months of making me feel crazy for trusting my instincts. 4 months of me apologizing for being suspicious while they laughed about it behind my back. "And the whole friend group knows?" I asked. Nora couldn't even look at me. "Some of them." "All of them," Hart corrected quietly. We asked them not to say anything." I started laughing, not because anything was funny, but because the alternative was screaming or punching a wall, the elaborate performance of the last few weeks, the boundaries conversation. Nora's sudden willingness to change. It was all theater designed to keep me quiet while they planned their next move. "So when you agreed to set boundaries," I said to Nora, "that wasn't because you wanted to fix our relationship. That was because you needed me to stop asking questions until you could find a clean way to dump me." She was sobbing now. "I do love you, Christian. I never meant for this to happen." "Bullshit." My voice was getting louder. "You meant for every second of this. You orchestrated this whole thing. You made me feel like I was going crazy, like I was the problem, while you were sleeping with him behind my back." I grabbed my charger from the nightstand. We're done. Don't contact me. Don't come to my place. We're finished. Please, Nora begged, reaching for me. Can we just talk about this? I can explain everything. There's nothing to explain. You cheated. You lied. You manipulated me. You made me doubt my own sanity. There's no coming back from this. Hart tried to say something, but I cut him off. And you, stay the hell away from me. You want her, you can have her, but you both deserve each other. I walked out and drove straight to my best friend Mike's house, told him everything. He just listened, handed me a beer, and said I could crash there as long as I needed. The worst part isn't even the cheating. It's the manipulation, the gaslighting, the way they made me feel like I was being unreasonable for noticing their obvious chemistry. The way the whole friend group was in on it, watching me make a fool of myself while they all knew the truth. I keep replaying moments from the past few months, seeing them in a completely different light. Every time I felt suspicious, every time my gut told me something was wrong, every time I thought I was being paranoid, I was right. I was always right. I'm done with all of them. Nora, Hart, Jessica, the whole crew. They can have their little drama circle without me. Edit, Nora has been calling and texting nonstop. I've blocked her on everything. Hart too. But before I blocked her, I could see what this was really about. She's not sorry, she's scared. Her messages went from please let me explain, to we need to talk about how we handle this, to it doesn't have to get messy if we're both mature about it. She's not trying to win me back. She's trying to negotiate how much damage this does to her reputation. I've been crashing at my friend Mark's place. Need some emotional support. He says I can stay here as long as I need. Good to know I have real friends who actually give a shit about me. Just realized something. Jessica's weird behavior makes sense now. She wasn't feeling guilty about not knowing. She was feeling guilty about knowing and not telling me. Screw all of them. Final update, posted 3 days ago. This whole nightmare has finally reached its conclusion, and I wanted to give you all a final update since you've been so supportive throughout this mess. After I caught Nora and Hart in bed together and broke up with her on the spot, I thought that would be the end of it. Naive, right? When she realized I wasn't going to play her negotiation games or keep quiet about what happened, she switched tactics. If she couldn't control me, she'd control everyone else's perception of me first. Within 24 hours, Nora had posted on social media about her toxic ex, who was controlling and couldn't handle her having male friends. She painted this whole picture of me as an insecure, manipulative boyfriend who tried to isolate her from her friends, and made her feel like she had to choose between her relationship and her support system. Hart and the rest of her friend group immediately jumped in to support her story. They shared her posts, added their own comments about how uncomfortable I made them feel, how I was always interrogating Nora about her friendships, how they tried to include me but I was always suspicious and hostile. My own friends started asking me what the hell happened. My coworkers saw the posts. Even my mom called asking if I was okay. It was humiliating. The worst part was that some of it contained just enough truth to be believable. I had questioned her friendships. I had asked for boundaries. I had felt suspicious of her friend group. When you strip away the context of why I felt that way, it's easy to paint me as the bad guy. My boss pulled me aside Tuesday morning, said he'd seen some concerning posts about me online and wanted to make sure everything was okay. Professional life bleeding into personal drama, exactly what I didn't need. I was furious, not just about the cheating anymore, but about the character assassination. She was trying to rewrite history to make herself the victim and me the abuser. That's when I realized I needed to fight back with facts. First, I went through old text messages between me and Nora. Found plenty of evidence of her lying about where she was and who she was with. Screenshots of her saying she was working late. On nights I later realized she was probably with Hart. Messages where she'd claimed to be at Jessica's when I later found out Jessica was out of town. But the real breakthrough came when Jessica reached out to me privately Wednesday night. Turns out watching Nora destroy my reputation online was too much for her conscience. I can't do this anymore, she said when she called. Her voice was shaking. What she's doing here isn't right. Jessica sent me screenshots of the group chat where they all been discussing how to handle the Christian situation for months. Messages about coordinating their stories, about making sure I felt included just enough to stop asking questions, about how Hart and Nora needed to be more careful. The most damning was a message from Nora herself saying, "Christian's getting suspicious again. Everyone needs to be extra nice to him this weekend, so he thinks he's being paranoid." Another one from Hart, "Maybe we should cool it for a while, he's asking too many questions." And Nora's response, "No way, I've worked too hard to set this up, just follow my lead." Jessica said she'd wanted to tell me for weeks, but was scared of the backlash. "I felt like such a coward," she said. "You deserve to know, I'm sorry." I compiled everything into a clear, factual post. Screenshots of the lies, evidence of the coordination, Jessica's testimony about what had really been happening behind the scenes. I didn't need to get emotional or defensive, the evidence spoke for itself. The response was swift and brutal. Within hours, everything changed. Comment sections turned into graveyards. Friends who'd been backing Nora suddenly went silent. Hart deleted all his social media. 3 other people from the friend group sent me private apologies, saying they'd felt terrible about the whole thing but didn't know how to speak up without causing more drama. Even some people I barely knew reached out to apologize for believing Nora's version of events. One guy from my gym said he'd been giving me dirty looks all week based on what he'd read online. Nora tried damage control again. Posted about how the messages were taken out of context, that she was just venting about relationship stress, that I was violating her privacy by sharing private conversations. But when multiple people from her own friend group started confirming the story, her narrative completely fell apart. My boss called to apologize and said the company had no concerns about the situation. My mom sent a care package. Small victories, but they matter. The whole thing has been exhausting, but I'm glad the truth is out there. I'm not the controlling, insecure boyfriend she tried to paint me as. I was a guy who noticed his girlfriend acting shady and trusted his instincts. I'm doing better now, most days. On others, I still second-guess myself, wondering if I'll ever fully trust my instincts again. But still, I'm getting there. Do I still feel hurt? Absolutely. The woman I loved spent months lying to my face and making me feel crazy for noticing her lies. But I also feel free. Free from walking on eggshells, free from second-guessing my own perceptions, free from people who could smile to my face while plotting behind my back. Thanks to everyone who supported me through this. Special thanks to those who told me to trust my instincts. You were right. The truth always comes out eventually. Edit, for those asking, Nora and Hart on apparently officially together now. They can have each other. Jessica has completely cut ties with that friend group too. Says she feels terrible about her part in everything and is taking time to reflect on why she went along with it. We're not friends, but I respect her for coming forward.